Ladies and gentlemen, if I had to start from scratch and become a millionaire by 2026, here's exactly what I would do. The very first thing I would do is start with a clear, scalable vision, not just a business idea. Most people think getting rich starts with some clever product, some hot trend, or some overnight idea that suddenly explodes. But wealth doesn't come from small thinking. It comes from understanding where the world is going and placing yourself in front of that movement with a vision that can grow far beyond your local street, your neighborhood, or even your country. An idea is like a seed. Anyone can plant it. But a vision is like a blueprint for a forest. It's what gives that seed the environment to grow, multiply, and sustain life over time. If I want to be a millionaire, I don't just want to make money. I want to build something meaningful. Something that scales without breaking. That means I have to think beyond the product. I have to ask myself, what future problem am I solving? Who am I building for? Can this grow without me? If the answer is no, I'm still thinking small. When I say clear vision, I mean a vision that even a 10-year-old can understand. If you can't explain what you do in one sentence, it's too complicated to scale. People need to believe in your idea as much as you do. And they can't do that if your message is confusing. A scalable vision is simple, powerful, and emotionally resonant. Think about some of the biggest companies in the world. Their vision wasn't, we sell shoes or we deliver books. Their vision was, we'll connect people, we'll make life easier, we'll bring the world to your doorstep. That's clarity. That's scale. And let's talk about scalability. Scalability means that what works for 100 people can work for 100,000 with the right systems. If my vision relies on me doing everything personally, that's not scalable. I'd be building a prison, not a business. So from day one, I would design systems, not just tasks. I would think about how to remove myself from operations over time. I'd ask, can this run while I sleep? Can I replicate this in another city, another country, another language? These are not questions for later. These are questions for now. Scalability also means leverage. The most successful people in the world don't trade time for money. They trade ideas for impact. If I can help 10 people today with a service, I'd think, how do I help 10,000 with technology? How do I create a platform instead of a product? Platform scale. Networks scale. Software scales. Humans don't. That's why building with scale in mind isn't optional. It's essential. Your vision must also be aligned with trends, not distractions. The world is changing fast. AI, remote work, creator economy, sustainability, health tech. And those who understand where things are moving will win. I wouldn't build for today's needs. I'd build for what people will need tomorrow. I'd study behavior shifts, not just market stats. I'd observe people, not just profits. And I'd position myself to ride the wave, not chase it after it's already passed. A scalable vision also attracts the right people. Investors, partners, talent. Smart people don't just want a job or a paycheck. They want to be part of something bigger. If your vision is small, you'll only attract people who think small. But if your vision is bold, disruptive, and transformative, people will line up to help you build it. And that's how momentum begins. You become a magnet for possibility because you dared to think beyond yourself. You stopped being a hustler and started becoming a builder. That's the real shift that separates millionaires from dreamers. One of the core skills I'd focus on is mastering the art of failing fast and learning even faster. Because the truth is, failure is not the opposite of success. It's the path to it. The faster I fail, the sooner I learn. The sooner I learn, the better I adapt. And the better I adapt, the faster I grow. But most people spend their lives avoiding failure, protecting their ego, trying to look smart, trying to be perfect. And that's exactly what keeps them stuck. Every successful person you admire has a track record full of mistakes. Not just one or two. Dozens, sometimes hundreds. What separates them from everyone else isn't that they avoided failure, it's that they built a habit of extracting the lesson from every experience and applying it immediately. That's what learning faster means. It doesn't mean reading 100 books or watching motivational videos all day. It means making a move, seeing the outcome, understanding what worked and what didn't, and making adjustments in real time. If I was building something in 2025 with the goal of becoming a millionaire in 2026, I wouldn't wait to get everything perfect. I'd launch fast. I'd test ideas quickly. I wouldn't spend 6 months working on a product in silence only to find out no one wants it. I'd go out, talk to people, get feedback, get rejected, pivot, rebuild, and try again. That loop, build, test, fail, learn, adjust, would become my engine. Failing fast doesn't mean being reckless. It means making decisions, moving forward, and being willing to be wrong. It's about understanding that no progress happens without risk. The longer I wait to act, the longer it takes to learn. And the longer it takes to learn, the more time I waste stuck in theory. I'd rather make 10 small mistakes and correct them than make one giant mistake after overthinking for too long. And here's what most people don't get: failure is feedback. It's not final. It's information. It's telling me where the hole is in my strategy, where the weakness is in my thinking, or where the market doesn't agree with my assumptions. And when I train myself to take that feedback without emotion, I get dangerous. Because now I'm not operating from fear. I'm operating from data. Learning faster also means becoming obsessed with reflection. After every failure, I'd ask myself 3 questions. What went wrong? Why did it happen? What can I do differently next time? I wouldn't just move on blindly. I'd study the failure like a scientist, like an athlete reviewing game footage. I'd look at my decisions, my mindset, my timing, my communication, my process, everything. Because buried in that failure is gold, but only if I'm humble enough to dig it out. Another part of learning faster is letting go of my ego. When I fail, I don't blame the market, my team, or the economy. I look inward. I take ownership. Because if I caused it, I can change it. Victim thinking is the slowest way to grow. Ownership is the fastest. The more responsibility I take, the more power I have to change the outcome next time. Failing fast also means I don't marry my ideas. I stay flexible. If something's not working, I pivot. If the market is telling me something new, I listen. I don't force my way through walls. I find the door. And I understand that no single idea defines me. I define the idea. And if I need to evolve it, I evolve with it. The goal isn't to be perfect. The goal is to become too adaptive to fail for long. The world changes fast, and the only people who thrive in it are the ones who can fall forward, adjust quickly, and keep moving with confidence and clarity. One of the non-negotiable priorities in my life would be to invest relentlessly in personal development. Not just casually, not occasionally, but relentlessly. Because the truth is, income rarely exceeds identity. If I want to grow my wealth, I first have to grow myself. I can't expect $1 million result with $1,000 mindset, and I definitely can't expect to lead $1 million business with $10 habits. The most powerful investment I will ever make is not in the stock market, not in crypto, not even in real estate. It's in developing the skills, mindset, emotional control, and communication abilities that allow me to operate at a high level every single day. And that development doesn't happen by chance. It's built through daily decisions. How I spend my time, what I consume, who I listen to, and most importantly, what I do with the knowledge I gain. Reading books, listening to podcasts, attending seminars, those are starting points. But personal development is not just about learning more, it's about becoming more. It means developing the discipline to follow through when motivation disappears. It means training my mind to handle rejection, stress, and pressure without falling apart. It means strengthening my focus so I don't get distracted by the noise of the world while I'm trying to build something meaningful. I would create a personal curriculum, just like a university has courses, but tailored to the version of me I want to become. If I want to lead people, I study leadership. If I want to build wealth, I study business models and financial intelligence. If I want to influence others, I master communication. I identify the skills that directly connect to the outcome I want, and I train them deliberately, not randomly. Most people try to achieve more without upgrading the system that's trying to achieve it. That's like trying to run modern software on outdated hardware. It crashes. So I'd look inward before I try to expand outward. I'd audit my habits, beliefs, and environment. If I have limiting beliefs about money, I face them. If I have time wasting habits, I replace them. If my environment is dragging me down, I change it. Because I understand that I don't just do better. I become better, and then success follows. I'd also protect my energy. Personal development isn't just intellectual. It's physical and emotional too. I'd take care of my health like it's my most valuable asset, because it is. A tired body can't produce creative ideas. A weak mind can't handle pressure. A reactive mindset will never build proactive results. So I would optimize my sleep, nutrition, and routines because how I feel directly affects how I perform. Mentorship would also be part of my development strategy. I'd study people who are already where I want to be. I'd watch their interviews, read their biographies, and if possible, reach out to them directly. Because learning from someone's experience can save me years of trial and error. Success leaves clues, but I have to be humble enough to look for them. I'd also document everything I'm learning, not just for memory, but for mastery. Writing down lessons, tracking patterns, reflecting on wins and losses. This is how knowledge turns into wisdom. This is how progress becomes intentional. And when I look back, I'd be able to see how far I've come. Not because I had everything figured out, but because I refused to stay the same. I would treat personal growth like a business, with goals, deadlines, metrics, and accountability. Just like I track sales, I'd track progress. How many books did I finish this month? How often did I challenge myself to speak, lead, sell, or create? Where did I improve, and where am I still playing small? I wouldn't try to do it all by myself. I would focus on building a team that's smarter than me, faster than me, and more skilled than me in areas where I'm weak. Because building wealth at scale is not a solo mission. It's a team sport. And the quality of my team would ultimately determine the strength, speed, and sustainability of everything I'm trying to build. Most people fail not because they don't have a good idea, but because they try to be the CEO, the marketer, the developer, the designer, the sales rep, the customer service agent, all in one. That's a recipe for burnout, not brilliance. I'd rather own 50% of something great with a strong team than 100% of a mess I can barely manage. One person can only go so far, but a unified team with complementary strengths that can go global. Building a team smarter than me starts with humility. It starts with recognizing that I don't need to be the expert in everything. I just need to be excellent at finding, empowering, and aligning the right people. I don't need to code if I have a world-class developer. I don't need to be a design genius if I have a creative mind who lives for innovation. My job is not to do it all. My job is to lead, inspire, and create a culture where smart people can thrive. But smart people don't work for small thinkers. They don't stick around if there's no vision. They're not motivated by just money. They're driven by purpose, progress, and ownership. So if I want top talent on my team, I need to build something worth being part of. That means having a bold mission. That means being clear about where we're going. That means creating an environment of trust, growth, and freedom. Because talented people don't just want tasks, they want a challenge. The way I recruit matters too. I wouldn't hire people just based on resumes and degrees. I'd look at attitude, hunger, problem-solving ability, and alignment with the mission. Skills can be trained. Mindset can't. I'd rather work with someone who's hungry to grow than someone who thinks they already know everything. I want learners, not know-it-alls. I want doers, not talkers. And once the team is in place, I'd empower them to make decisions. I wouldn't micromanage. I wouldn't slow things down with control. I'd give them clear goals, clear expectations, and then space to execute. If they make mistakes, I'd coach them, not criticize them. If they succeed, I'd celebrate them, not compete with them. Because when they win, we all win. I'd also make sure the team is diverse, not just in background, but in thinking styles, skill sets, and perspectives. I don't want everyone to agree with me. I want people who challenge assumptions, bring new angles, and spot things I don't see. That's where real innovation comes from. And that's how blind spots get eliminated. Not by one person trying to know it all, but by many minds thinking together. I would also invest in the team's development as much as my own. I'd encourage them to read, learn, experiment, and take ownership of their growth. I'd create a culture where feedback is welcomed, not feared. Where learning is celebrated, not ignored. Where no one gets punished for taking smart risks. Because the more they grow, the more the business grows, and the stronger we become together. I would constantly evaluate the team's alignment with the vision, not just in skills, but in energy, values, and contribution. If someone starts treating the work like a job instead of a mission, that's a signal. If someone brings drama instead of solutions, that's a red flag. I'd protect the culture at all costs, because one wrong hire can damage what 10 great people are trying to build. One of the most critical commitments I'd make is to stay unshakably disciplined for 365 days. Not just motivated for a week. Not just consistent when it's convenient, but disciplined every single day, regardless of how I feel. Because success doesn't come from how excited I am in January. It comes from what I still do when it's June and I'm tired, behind schedule, and the results are slower than I expected. Discipline is the bridge between goals and results. It's what separates dreamers from doers. Everyone says they want to be rich. Everyone says they want freedom. But very few people are willing to show up day after day and put in the work without applause, without guarantees, and without shortcuts. I'd train myself to become the kind of person who doesn't negotiate with excuses, who doesn't rely on external motivation, and who follows through no matter what. The first thing I'd do is structure my life like a high-performance machine. That means waking up early, protecting my mornings, and building routines that sharpen me mentally, physically, and emotionally. I'd set non-negotiable habits, reading for at least 30 minutes a day, tracking my progress weekly, eliminating distractions like mindless scrolling, and setting clear priorities the night before. I wouldn't wait for the perfect time. I'd make time, because discipline isn't about having more hours. It's about making smarter use of the ones I already have. I'd track my actions, not just my goals. Goals are just dreams until they're backed by systems. So instead of saying, I want to build $1 million business, I'd say, every day, I will send 10 cold emails, create 1 piece of content, and follow up with 5 prospects. Discipline isn't about doing everything. It's about doing the right things consistently, even when they're boring. Especially when they're boring. Because that's where breakthroughs are built. And I wouldn't let my emotions control my schedule. Discipline means doing what I said I'd do long after the feeling I said it in has faded. Some days I'd feel tired. Some days I'd feel discouraged. Some days the results would make me question everything. But I'd still do the work. Not because I feel like it, but because I'm committed. Emotions are temporary. Standards are permanent. That's the mindset I'd build. I'd also eliminate decision fatigue. I wouldn't waste energy every day deciding whether or not to do what I already said I'd do. I'd automate discipline. If my morning routine starts at 600 a.m., there's no debate. If content creation is blocked out at 1000 a.m., I don't delay it. Because every time I skip, snooze, or stall, I'm reinforcing the habit of quitting, and millionaires don't build wealth on habits of hesitation. Accountability would be part of the system. I'd have someone, a mentor, a friend, a coach, who knows what I'm working toward and checks in on my progress. Because discipline doesn't grow in isolation. When I know someone is watching, I level up. And if I fall short, I don't hide. I reflect, I adjust, and I recommit. That's how consistency becomes character. I'd avoid the trap of multitasking and distraction. Discipline means protecting my time like it's $1 million asset, because it is. I wouldn't let notifications, trends, or other people's opinions dictate my day. I'd design an environment that supports my focus, a clean workspace, time block schedule, digital boundaries, and systems for deep work. If something doesn't move the needle, it doesn't belong in my day. And I'd constantly remind myself that real success doesn't come from intensity. It comes from sustainability. Anybody can sprint for a week, but I'd condition myself to show up for a year without burning out, without chasing shiny objects, and without lowering my standards every time life gets uncomfortable. I'd build a rhythm, not a race, a structure, not a sprint. And I'd measure progress not by what I say, but by what I repeat consistently over time. In conclusion, if I truly wanted to become a millionaire by 2026, it wouldn't start with luck or shortcuts. It would begin with a clear, scalable vision backed by relentless discipline and strategic thinking. I'd focus on solving real problems at scale, not chasing trends or copying others. I would embrace failure as my personal mentor, using each setback as a stepping stone towards smarter decisions. Every mistake would become data. Every obstacle a lesson. I'd invest in myself daily, mentally, physically, and emotionally, understanding that personal development is the foundation of sustainable wealth. I'd build a team smarter than me, with skills that complement my vision and strengths that challenge my blind spots. Because greatness isn't created in isolation, it's built through collaboration. Most importantly, I'd remain unshakably disciplined for 365 days, showing up, executing, and staying focused no matter what. Success doesn't come to the most talented or the most lucky. It comes to those who stay committed longer than the rest. Becoming a millionaire isn't a fantasy. It's a system of thinking, acting, and building that begins with a decision and is sustained by daily action.